try to use, so I always say use your body to affect their body. You can use your hands to affect their face. Boom, like that's it, simple division, right? So like if his shoulders want to go to the right, you've got to fix that with your right hip, your right abs, your right shoulder, your right elbow, your right fist, your right forearm, your right leg, your right thigh, your right knee, whatever you got to do, you've got to push that right shoulder around that turn, right?
Yes.
And it's easy to do kind of when you're on a long rein like this because you're not using his face, right? So you can really focus on like how to, yeah, like that. That's how you should be riding his body in the turns all the time. The problem is we shorten the reins and it's just so damn tempting to not, like think of how much you just had to use the right side of your body to get him to make those turns. Are you using the right side of your body every single step of the ride to make a turn left like that? Probably not, right? But that's how much it took to do it correctly, to really turn his body and not use his face, right? And so, you know, we are human beings. One of the things that like separates us and like has helped let us evolve is that we have hands, right? And we can do things with our hands. It's natural for us. It is the most natural thing for us to immediately resolve things with our hands because that's like part of what makes us humans and evolved, right? The other thing that leads into it is that, again, we are humans. The way that our brain works is whatever is in our field of vision is what is going to occupy the largest portion of our focus, right, and our attention. So it's like a double whammy, right? Like our hands are in front of us attached to their face and all we can see is what their face is doing, right? And so what does your brain go to? Hands and face, right? Your hands, their face. And that's just naturally how humans think. All humans, right? You're not special. You're not special in that, right? And so in riding dressage, when we want to affect their body with our body, right? Really, and you know, everybody says ride back to front, you know, like nobody ever defines it. They love all these little phrases of, oh, ride back to front, inside like to outside rain. Nobody ever tells you what the frick that means. Nobody does. Nobody ever does, right? And so, you know, for me, like what it means is like you have to ride, when you say ride back to front, you have to tap into and ride and balance the energy in their body, right? Not in their face, not using their face. It has to come. You have to feel what you are sitting on, pretend that there's nothing in front of the withers, and say, is what I am sitting on balanced? Is their croup lowering and taking more weight? Are their shoulders coming up, or are they tipped down, right? Or are they falling left, or are they falling right? Is the thing that I am sitting on balanced and in alignment, regardless of what the neck is doing, right? And so, you know, it's like you have to go against your natural instinct and tendency as a human being to say, it feels like I want to do something with their face, with my hands, because I see that their face is not where I want it to be and I have hands that are attached to it, right? And you have to just, you know, people talk about like the discipline of dressage and they picture people like drilling movements over and over and over and being disciplined in that way, right? That's not it. The discipline of dressage is the mental work you have to do. It's the mental discipline. It's the mental work of taking those kind of natural tendencies and training yourself to be like, okay, well, I can see that its face is not where I want it to be, and my hands are attached to the face, but I can intellectually recognize that the problems that I am seeing and feeling in the horse's face are not coming from the horse's face, right? And so you have to force yourself to be like, I am going to not touch the horse's face, and I am going to see what things I can feel and address and correct and balance in the horse's body first. And if I balance the horse, if I make sure there's enough impulsion and energy and they're in alignment, and I create more balance in the horse's body, and that doesn't resolve everything that I'm feeling in its face, then maybe I touch its face. But we all do it the opposite way. We all say, oh my God, its face isn't where I want it to be. I'm going to touch its face because my hands are attached to its face. I'm going to make its face go where I want it to be, right? And that's like putting a Band-Aid on it. It might look better for a minute. It might feel better for a minute, but it's not going to resolve that issue coming up again and again and again until you resolve it in the body, right? So the discipline for me is that you have to like mentally like force yourself to be like, I am not going to use my hands and I am going to check the impulsion, and I am going to check the alignment, and I am going to check the, the balance, right? And I'm going to check all of those things. And if all those things are like good, solid, yep, I've got good energy coming to the bridle, not popping the shoulder, not leaning either direction, and, feels good and balanced, like he doesn't feel like he's falling down on his face. If all those things are like, yep, check, 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 those are all good, and that hasn't resolved what's going on in front of you in the face, which 9 times out of 10 it will, shocker. But if it hasn't, then you say, okay, I still feel a little bit of stiffness, something here, or a little brace or something. So then I'm gonna say, okay, maybe I take like a slight flexion, and I put my inside leg on, and I start to try to shape that energy to soften all the way to the bridle if I feel a little brace or a block there in the pole or the jaw, right? And then you just sort of start to work through that, always checking back in with the body as you do, right? It's just, it's one of the hardest things about dressage. It's why you see so many people that just ride with their hands, right? And it just is, right? And, a lot of people can be really, really successful. If you have a really, really nice horse, you can be quite successful just pulling on the horse's face, actually. You see it all the time. I mean, it's true.
It is true.
And this is why so many people, they just try to buy the absolute fanciest, nicest horses they have. And it's I always look at these horses and you see them, competing in Wellington. And you're like, God, if that horse
is ridden properly,
had a rider that really rode the horse without pulling on it or cramming it together or making it happen, that horse could be an international horse. But it's just doing a 68% Grand Prix with somebody that's making it happen and shoving it together and holding the face, right? And so, it's still good, right? A 68 Grand Prix, I'll take it, right? I'll still do that all day long, right? If it's a nice horse, it's going to still have the capacity to do all those things in spite of people hauling on their faces. But that's not what I want to be. And I can only teach people, for me, what I believe in and how I think about the horse and the energy and the balance and how the kind of rider that I want to be. And it's I was just saying this to my working student the other day. It's the difference between Isabelle Vert and Sabine, right? Do you know the two people I'm talking about? So Isabelle Vert is the most accomplished, most winningest rider. She has 47 medals. She's been in 8 different Olympics. She is the most, go look at your homework is to go look these 2 riders up and watch them ride, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So Isabelle is the most famous rider of all time. She's the winningest rider of all time. She rides for Germany. She has had international horse after international horse. She's been on 20,000 different teams. She is by far the most accomplished rider ever to exist, right? Her horses go around and they are correct as hell. They pee off with their knees by their ears and their hocks by their belly, right? And they do it on the spot. And they do it the exact number of strides they're supposed to do it, and then they make a totally rhythmical, active transition out of the piaffe to the passage. They make those tempis, and they are carbon copy. Every single one tempi is just like the last one. They're dead train track straight, and they clock them off, and everyone is uniform, right? Consistently. She has been that way for many years, many different types of horses, right? But those horses are like robots, right? They do their job. They know their job. They do their job. She scores very well. She's the winningest rider ever. There's something to be said for that. Then you go and watch a rider like Sabine.